now. So again, apologize for us being a little bit behind here. Just dealing with a little personal emergency on Fred's side. So he's running just a couple minutes late. Any minute now, he's going to come on live, and hopefully he knows he's on live. Facebook family. Right. I was saying to Jeff, it's kind of like a funny story. So this was Jeff, what was it, like a couple of years ago? We were doing a live, like a webinar, and I was running late, and I forget what it was. Something was going really wrong. I couldn't get everything. So I joined the webinar thinking we're still in a practice session, still, thinking that we hadn't started yet. And I'm using every swear word in the book, and I'm like having a fit, like, F this, F that. I can't believe I had this. I'm going on. And Jeff's like, oh, we're live. So I hope Fred doesn't come on and do that, because that would be awkward. I say I hope he doesn't. He's more professional than I am, obviously, but that's just this kind of way it rolls. So anyway, so Jeff and I were just out at Connect IT. So just to kind of set the table, guys, you might remember from the boot camp we had back in April. I had Fred on, and we were interviewing him, and that was right as the acquisition just was announced. I think he just joined us, so this is cool. So it was right as the acquisition was announced, and I had him on stage. And just to kind of remind you guys, Fred is the CEO of Kaseya. I know most of you know that. I have a big audience, so not everybody might know that. He took over Kaseya as CEO in 2015. I think it was doing somewhere around 65 million and about 350 employees. And today they're at north of 500 million and 2,200 employees. So huge growth over that time. About the acquisition of Datto for 6.2 billion. That acquisition has recently gone through, what's really exciting is now Kaseya's valuation is well over 10 billion. And in the next 5 years should be in the $30 billion range. So Fred, welcome.
Thank you, Robin. And I apologize. I'm about 12 minutes late here. I had an issue with my mom I had to address. And as we know, family first. So for everyone who's here, definitely not being disrespectful of your time. I just had something that I had to prioritize over this. And I hate to say that, but we only get one mom. So I apologize for that. And thank you for being patient. And thank you for not killing me, Robin. I'm sure it was.
Look, I've been working with you. I remember back in 2015 when you took over Kaseya, and you and I talked, and like you've always kept your commitments to us. You've always done what you've said. You've never been late, so I completely understand. So we delayed for a little bit, but yeah, 100% understand.
Figures on the one time we do like a live event, right?
Yeah, right. Well, it is what it is. So that's all. So yeah, so I was just saying, with Jeff was on with me, and we were, Jeff and I, we were just talking about the event that just happened for you in Vegas, Connect, and I was there speaking, and like, holy smokes, that room was packed. I mean, I was like, I walked in and my jaw dropped. There looked like there was 3,000 people there. It was, I got like one of the last seats in the very, very back. So congratulations on the event. How did it go from your perspective?
Well, thank you for saying that, Robin. It was great. We had, I think Dana can get the exact numbers. I think the head count was like a little over 3,200 people. So good guess. The event was great. And, I think a lot of people were just excited to get back out. So we did a physical event last year in Vegas. We had about, I think, 1,700, if I remember the full head count number. And, it was a good turnout. We had a lot of people last year who were still a little COVID timid, just not fully comfortable yet. So I think that it's a testament to a couple of things. The reason the event was so successful: one, people just want to keep getting out. I think that's human nature. Two, I think the team put together a really good agenda. Mm-hmm. I think that the content was great. You were one of the speakers. If we take the time to bring someone of your caliber on, hopefully it shows the commitment we have to bring, good content and good speakers. Mm-hmm. I also think, to be very candid, people want to hear what's up with Datto. What's going to happen. That's big news. So I think the event was successful in that a lot of people were there. I also think the event was successful in that we did a good job. The team did a good job of listening to the feedback from last year and the virtuals from the previous years. We really tried to make the content practical. tangible. MSPs can take things and leave. It's not a, hey, this is the button to press if you want to do something better. It's, here are the techniques you can do if you want to run your business better, or here are if you're a technician, here's the approach you can use if you want to do your job better. And I think it was well received.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you know, what was interesting, I think at the beginning of the event, you still couldn't say too much because like the acquisition hadn't really been finalized, right? And so when was it actually finalized? Was it the last day of the event?
Yeah, so the acquisition was finalized at 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern time on Thursday, which was the last day of the event. So
yeah, very, very cool.
And just so for the people might not know, obviously Datto's a public company. And when a public company is being acquired, even if the risk is 0.00001% that a deal doesn't happen for whatever reason, there's still a chance the deal doesn't happen until it's closed, right? Until the ink is wet, or whatever the phrase is. So the amount of information and the amount of actual integration work that can be done prior to closing is only information or integration work that won't have an impact on that business on a standalone move forward basis if the deal doesn't close. So that's why there were certain things that we could mention and certain things that we shied away from until the closing.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting for me just to even learn that, to see as you went through this, and you're acquiring this company, and like there's things that you couldn't say. And not that you're withholding information, but legally you just can't do it, and playing it really squeaky clean like you did. So as we know, when you were on my stage, like it was just kind of announced, and now it's done. And so I wanted to do this live interview to kind of get the rest of the story, if you will. And so what I kind of want to start with is a question I asked you at the event. But I want you to go a little deeper now that you can talk, and that is, why did you buy Datto, and really what is the plan for integration now that you can talk more freely?
Yeah, and it's definitely looking forward to addressing this and talking about it. It's great. So why did we buy Datto? So Robin, I'm probably going to talk for about 7 minutes straight. So you can raise your hand if you're getting sick and tired of hearing my raspy New Jersey accent go on. So Kaseya's strategy. So the reason we bought Datto at a very high level is it accelerates our overall strategy. I'm going to talk about what that means. Like and some of this, if any of your people listening here were at Connect, it might be a little bit of a rewind. So I apologize for that. But our view of the world is that we want MSPs who are Kaseya customers to be the best MSPs. Every vendor is going to say that. How we try to deliver on that is by providing, as a software company, is by providing a platform called IT Complete. So we see four key challenges or structural challenges. Problems is a strong word, but challenges that MSPs face. And IT Complete as a platform is built to address those. So I'll run through that real quick and I'll tell you how Datto fits into it. So the first challenge that we talk about is vendor fatigue. I'm a vendor. I hate saying that. Robin, you're a vendor too, I guess, right?
Yeah, we are.
So I guess people are sick and tired of you and I, probably more sick and tired of me than you. But the average MSP has 17 different pieces of kit from 17 different vendors to deliver both their managed services to their clients and to run their MSP, RMM, PSA, backup, security products.
Yeah, 17, wow.
17.
Yeah.
So what that means is, if you think about how long it takes what does managing a vendor mean? It doesn't mean just going to their shows. It means different licensing models, different subscription models, different support, different products to be trained on. There's dozens of things that go into managing a vendor. Now, if you have 17 different vendors, that's 17 different processes to go through for support, 17 different licensing schemes, 17 different compliance schemes, and name it.
Contracts and billing and everything. Yeah.
Billing, it's a huge burden, huge. Now, like enterprise companies like Citibank and, HSBC and Ford, they have vendor management groups where they have a full-time job of doing it. At Kaseya, now that we've acquired Datto, we're around 4,500 employees. We have a vendor management group of about 6 people, and they deal with all that. 99% of MSPs don't. So that means that the owner or the technicians or both, they have to deal with that. It takes a lot of time and energy, right?
Mhm.
The second challenge that we find is because these MSPs are using 16, 17 different pieces of kit, that kit's not integrated. So, and they're not integrated at a deep, meaningful level. I don't mean the BS integration, like, oh, I have an API, I'm going to throw some data to you and you can share it. No, not that crap. I mean, real meaningful stuff. The way that Microsoft Office is, 5, 6, 7 different products. It's really one product of 7 features because they're so deeply integrated, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That integration doesn't exist. So what that means is technicians are incredibly inefficient because in order to do their job on an hourly basis, they have to go through patching and database and network management, back to patch. They do all these different products to do that. They look different, they feel different, and their workflows aren't integrated. That takes a big, big tax on the technician.
Right.
Third challenge that we see, and this is an interesting challenge for a software vendor to talk about. And Rob and I you've heard me say this a couple of times, like I'm a nerd, I'm proud of it, I don't care. And I like cool products. I like that stuff. So I take a lot of pleasure in building neat, cool features and products. That's probably why a lot of us who got into software did it originally. It's cool, it's fun, it's what we like to do. So think about this math for a second. If there's roughly 17 pieces of kit that that a typical MSP listening to this interview has, right? All of those vendors have good intentions. Even my competitors, right? We all have hopefully good intentions, and we want to build cool shit, cool stuff. So most of us have a release, like, we'll drop a new release every 2 weeks or every month. So let's make the math easy and call it every month. And we'll put 10, 15 new cool things in each release. So if each release has 10 cool things and we're doing 12 of those a year, that's 1,200 cool things a year times 17 vendors. I mean, do the math. It's huge. So if you have thousands of new features that are released, I mean, most MSPs that I speak with, they might have 1, maybe 2 weeks of training a year for their technicians to learn the stuff. So the result of this, and this, by the way, this problem happens up in the enterprise accounts as well, just it's not as profound because they do have those vendor management groups. There's really cool features that could add a ton of value for a lot of customers, a lot of the MSPs that they don't even know about, more or less can use. So you have unutilized software, which again makes technicians a lot less efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last problem that we try to solve is budgets. I've not met an MSP yet who thinks they pay too little for their software, right? That's true, because every dime that an MSP pays for their software comes right out of their bottom line.
Right.
And they can't always pass those costs forward to customers. So those are the 4 challenges that we see, right? Vendor fatigue, lack of technical integration, lack of intelligence in the products, and budgets and cost. So our platform, IT Complete, is purpose-built to address all 4 of those, right? And then I'll talk about how Datto fits in, right? So the first is, we talk about vendor fatigue. We have 40 modules of IT Complete. So just about every single type of managed service that every MSP on this call was listening to, Kaseya has software kit for that. We also have software kit to manage your MSP, whether it's PSA, IT documentation, et cetera, et cetera. So it's complete. And we also say it's commercially integrated. So that means one bill, one invoice, one licensing structure. You don't have to deal with the headaches of managing multiple vendors.
One login, one, it just makes it simpler.
Everything, right? And then of those software modules, they're all integrated at a workflow level. What I mean by that is the days of just sharing information over an API, there's some value there, but doing it in the application layer or inside the database, right? For all the fellow software geeks, building a unified database structure with a common application integration hub, that allows us to put one screen in front of a technician that does everything and it looks the same. You can't, 2 independent software companies simply cannot do that. And integrations cannot be that deep between 2 different companies because there's no way in hell that they're going to have that level of inter-codependence on their release schedules. Doesn't make sense. No way. So we do that. It makes technicians so much more efficient. Now, Robin, you were at Connect, so you saw this. This is my favorite part of the platform. So it's complete, it's commercially integrated, it's technically integrated, it's also intelligent. And my dog, Cooper, provides that intelligence, right?
Right.
I should have a picture of him here. I don't have one in my office. Usually he's in the office with me. Today he's not here. But so we built an AI, artificial intelligence engine, and we named it Cooper because my dog gave me the idea one night. And what it does is Cooper's always looking at how people are using all of our kit. And if they're not utilizing very valuable features, Cooper will let you know. If you're not utilizing integrations between modules, Cooper will let you know. If you haven't been properly trained, or if we dropped a release and no one viewed the release notes, or Cooper will let you know. Cooper is like an outsourced vendor management organization, kind of helping you get the most out of the product. Right. It's not like that Microsoft Clippy thing.
Clippy guy. I like.
No Clippy guy.
I like Clippy. I wish they.
I thought he was cool too, but when I started, we were doing like our beta test. People were like, "Don't make it like Clippy." But no, and that's cool. And Cooper's free. He comes with every module. But so Cooper makes the platform more intelligent, so people can get more value out of it. And then finally, talking about value, we charge 1/3 less for every module in the platform than any other vendor. And we do that for two reasons. One, because we can. And I don't mean that like a jerk or anything. We can do that because our business model says we have a complete platform and we want you, the MSP, to use us for everything. So we don't need to make money in any one module. You know what I mean? So we can charge less for them all, but we make our money in volume.
Right.
The second reason
that's why the Datto thing, because you can integrate even more and deeper and provide that value.
Yeah. So why we buy Datto? One, it makes us more complete. Mm-hmm. Datto's got kick-ass backup products. They have kick-ass networking gear. We didn't have networking gear, routers, switches. Anyone listening who uses the networking gear and has dealt with supply chain issues, we are spending a ton of money, tens of millions of dollars to alleviate that. We think the networking gear is phenomenal. It's 1/3 the cost of Cisco. It's great stuff. We love it. Great backup products. The PSA product, arguably the best PSA product in the market for MSPs that want complexity at scale. Mm-hmm. And same with the RMM. The RMM product fits a nice niche in the market. We love it. Makes IT complete more complete. Okay. Right? So it's more complete. We're going to commercially integrate all of it. So one bill, one invoice, one everything. Mm-hmm. We're technically integrating it all into the IT Complete platform. We announced at the conference a couple of integrations that are already live now, mm-hmm. and we'll have about 140 of them in the next 90 days. Meaningful shit, like meaningful stuff. Cooper's going to make them all intelligent, right? Cooper doesn't, he loves everybody. He's going to make them all intelligent.
Is Cooper live in the product right now? Like, is that already active?
Oh yeah, 100%. Cooper went live. So Cooper copied himself into IT Complete on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock Pacific time. Cooper will be, he needs a couple months to learn a little bit about Datto. But by the end of September, Cooper will be live in every Datto product, every Datto module of IT Complete. And the last piece is we're going to lower the prices of all Datto's products. Actually, I lied to you. We're lowering the price on most Datto products. Across the Datto product portfolio, prices are coming down 15%. So you can expect to see PSA, RMM pricing come down, SaaS backup pricing come down 15%. Right. On the continuity series, it's a little harder because there's hardware involved. And obviously the networking gear from Datto is, it's priced so low that we can't lower the prices there, but we're lowering prices. Mm-hmm. We're also announcing something super cool. And this is I guess, Robin, we just finalized the stuff. So but we're not ready to deliver on this for about 2 weeks because it takes time to get it done. But what we're doing is, it's called the Kaseya credits. This is super cool. You like this, Robin. Kaseya credit says if someone's spending $100,000 with Kaseya, which means you can be using Datto, you can be using Kaseya, whatever. We're going to give you 10%. So in this case, $10,000 in credit on that to continue to buy more products from Kaseya or Datto. And there's some rules around it. Nothing will be free. So you can, I think, apply up to like 30% off any product. There's some stuff, but you're getting $10,000 of more kit that you're not going to pay. So it's a pretty, we're trying to show the world that we're not full of shit when we said these are the things we do with every acquisition.
Yeah.
Data will be fully integrated into IT Complete in the next 90 days. That
Wow.
includes Cooper. That includes most commercial integration. There's a couple of things that you may still get 2 bills on. It's a little bit harder, but that'll be within 150 days. But most will be within 90 days. Workflow integrations are hitting already. And our commitment is every single product of Datto and of Kaseya will not only be supported, but we're adding more R&D bodies onto every one of them. Not select products. We're not going to force everyone onto Kaseya RMM, Datto RMM, or whatever. No.
Yeah.
Here's why. The reason is very simple. If we were to, so we're going to have 2 PSAs, 2 RMMs, 2 backups, absolutely, 100%. The R&D cost, if we were to pick one module, whether it's, the Kaseya PSA or the Datto PSA, or, any of the areas we have more than one module, if we were to pick just one and say to the customers, you got to switch, we would save about $22 million in product and R&D costs. That's the exact number. It's a little more than 22 million. I said approximately when we spoke on stage. So I was allowed to use the word approximately. The exact number is around 22. It's like 22.8 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of money. We're going to do $500 million of EBITDA next 12 months, 500 million in profit.
Wow. That's amazing.
20 million. Yeah. 20 million's a lot of money for anybody, including Bill Gates, but it would be much more costly if we told 7,000 customers you're effed. Sorry, you got to switch products. It not only would have pissed them all off, but our business strategy is one where we want every customer to adopt every module. So if we piss off 7, 10, 12,000 customers, they're not going to buy the modules. So that is the strategy. That is the plan. And, we're putting it in contracts. We're not just giving it lip service. It's in our selfish interest to do it. It's not just us being nice people, right? So that's
right.
why. I told you the long-winded answer, Robin.
No, I like that transparency because, look, everybody listening to this is an entrepreneur. You're running a business, and you're always, I think, in business, you have to make those decisions of, it's not the most profitable thing to do, but we're playing the long game. We're doing this to help our customers. I was there. I saw your keynote and your vision. I'm like having an event right now, and we're talking about unique selling proposition. Why should somebody buy from you, and adding that value? So I love all the vision, everything. It's a big vision to pull off. This is incredible. Because I used to think years ago it was going to be like it was like ConnectWise, Datto, and you, and one of you was going to pull ahead as far as integration, what your vision with IT Complete. Yeah. And I think we're seeing what's happening there. So, and when I saw you on stage, you did say, you were going to lower prices for Datto products, and that got a big round of applause. You already answered. I was going to ask you about that, if that was for real. And it sounds like that's something that everybody can look forward to, the loyalty reward kind of program. I think that's very cool as well. One thing I wanted to ask you about though, is we know that you and Datto as well have 1, 2, 3 year contracts, right? So is that going to change? Are you going to change anything moving forward there?
Yeah, I remember. Now, when was I? Producers Club was about 3 months ago in Tennessee.
Yeah, it was boot camp. It was in April.
Or boot camp. I'm sorry, April. Sorry, Robin. And I love that event. That was super cool. The whole mafia theme thing was really neat. We stole some of your ideas for Connect, so maybe we'll pay a royalty. But all kidding aside, you asked me on stage about does Datto do 3 year contracts? I said absolutely, and a couple of people said no, they don't.
No, Rob said he did. I asked him that when he was on the panel.
I remember when you asked me, a couple of the audience yelled out, no, boo, whatever the hell they did, and that stuff. So here are the facts. 92% of Datto's revenue is under a 3 year contract. It's a financial fact. I wish I could have said it at the stage.
Wow.
And so the direct answer, let me give a direct answer, then I'll give an antidote, right? Because this is like a hot topic. People want to talk about it.
Right.
The answer is 100% yes. Kaseya today and Datto today, we have 1 year contracts and 3 year contracts. That's how it works, right? So both Kaseya, well, I talked about Kaseya before I'll talk about Kaseya. It doesn't matter now, right? We're one company. Kaseya offers 1-year contracts. 100% we do. They're a hell of a lot more expensive than a 3-year contract. And I'm not going to apologize for that. We do it. So a 1-year contract might be $10,000 a year, and a 3-year contract might be $12,000 over 3 years. That's a $4,000 a year versus 10. It's a huge difference. What happens is a lot of people want the 3-year pricing for a 1-year deal, and we don't budge. We do it on purpose. Here's why we do 3-year. Let me take a step back. Here's why we incent so heavily and discount pricing on a 3-year deal so heavily. And I think why it's in both Kaseya's interest and the MSP's interest. Now, some people aren't going to like the answers, but it is what it is. First off, let's talk about for the MSP's perspective. And I hope this is being recorded because I'd love to be able to put this out afterwards and so people can hear facts, right? Yes. Right. The first thing is, so the cost of Kaseya's software is directly related to the revenue of an MSP. So the lower our cost of software, the more profit an MSP can make. That's a given. So if we're charging $1 for an RMM endpoint and someone else is charging $1.50, right? Just pick an example. There's going to be people that have lower pricing, higher pricing. I'm just making a simple example for math. So if someone's paying $1 and someone else paying $1.50, that means for every endpoint, they make 50 cents a month or $6, 50 times 12 is, $6, I think $6, right? Or whatever it is, $6 a year more with Kaseya in profit per endpoint, pure profit. Now, if we were selling a 1-year deal, we might sell it at $1.70 or $1.50. So there's no additional profit. The average software vendor raises pricing around 17% a year. In the next couple of years, so Insight Venture Partners is the primary venture or private equity firm behind Kaseya. I sit on a lot of boards. I talk to a lot of different people. The average software vendor in the Insight portfolio might be up to 25, 30% per year. That's what's happening. It's inflation shit's bad. It's real. And it's not just like gas and it really sucks for a lot of people around the world. But the biggest area of inflation, and the MSPs probably see it, is technician pricing, software engineering pricing. I mean, we're paying like 22, 24% annual increases. It's insane, right? So that's the market. So if you can lock in a price over 3 years, that $1.50 that someone pays on 1 year will be $3 in 2 years. That's just what's happening. So we think it's in the customer's interest to lock in the same price. We charge much less for a 3-year than a 1-year, much less. And we're not apologetic for it because we're taking that risk. The third thing is, for us, it's beneficial. Why? Because we can show in our financial statements deferred revenue, which means contracted revenue that happens in the future. It's like a backlog measure.
Well, MSPs know that. I mean, they understand valuation and
but it allows us to say, all right, we have a 15-month project to do something different in a product. So we know what the revenue is going to be, so we can make an educated decision on, I'm comfortable making this large of an investment. And I don't think that's unique in software. That's why we do it. Now, some people, I'll say this, and I don't know if we have 1,000 salespeople, 1,000 account managers. I'm sure sometimes that message gets effed up when delivered to customers. And we're working on it. That's great feedback. Robin, you gave me that feedback personally. You're like, hey, Fred, I got something you could probably do a lot better. And I think you're right on the mark. And we're working on it. And we're going to put it into the sales training manual, all the stuff that you do when you're a company like Kaseya. But that's how it works. If someone wants a 1-year contract, they can buy it. They're just going to pay a ton more. Now, the other piece to this discussion, which I think is interesting, is a lot of, some people, I've heard MSPs tell me this. They say, Fred, I love the lower pricing. It's great. You're 50% cheaper in the example I just gave. But, what if I lose a customer? What if I lose 20% of my endpoints because my biggest customer leaves? And that's a freaking valid concern. And here's the answer, and here's how we address it financially, purely with the numbers. No bullshit, no marketing crap, right? Purely with the numbers. And that is, if we're 50% cheaper, if you're paying $1 for us versus $1.50 with someone else, and you lose 20% of your endpoints, you're still making more money with Kaseya.
Right, right.
You know, and I think we've done a horrible job of articulating that to a small segment of our customer base, and we need to, and we will get better at it.
Yeah.
These answers aren't going to satisfy everybody, but that's kind of the why. I don't know if that makes sense, Robin.
Well, 100%. You know, I mean, like, for example, we have a lease in our upstairs, and we're on a 3-year contract. Like, you know, when you lease an office building, and as a business, you want a 3-year contract because you don't want to be month to month, because I got all my employees and everything set up, and the landlord comes along and says, guess what? You're either out next month or I'm going to double your rent. And they can do that, right? And so, you know, I think there's, you know, if you just step back for a second and you look at, you know, like I said to you on stage, why are people upset? I don't think they're upset. Well, first of all, if they're upset because they signed a 3-year contract and they went into that knowing that that was the case, and they looked at the product. I mean, signing a 3-year contract, they intentionally did that. It's not a bad thing. It locks the prices. And especially like you said, right now, that's a huge win for everybody because, or for them, because they're got their prices lower. I think where they might get grumpy is that they're not paying attention to renewals, and if it auto renewed or something like that. So, and I know you notify people and all the rest of it, but I think, you know, I mean, I have members where we say, look, we notified you this, and they're like, no, you didn't. I'm like, look, we called you 5 times. We emailed you 3 times. We tried to get a hold of you. And I understand they're busy and they're overwhelmed. I get all that. So I don't think people, I mean, they're not as bent on it. Like the whole, I don't really understand the contention. That's why I asked the audience, I said, why, what? And I asked you, I said, aren't they explain this when they buy? I mean, it'd be one thing if I signed a monthly contract and somewhere you snuck in small 3-point legalese somewhere, you know, that there was some kind of fine print, but I don't think that's what's going on. And it does make sense. I mean, if financially, if you're, you know, if you're going to put your kit in all your customers, and then all of a sudden, if that vendor came back at your month to month and says, hey, we're raising our prices 15-20%, that comes right off your bottom line. And it's expensive to then go, okay, well, I'm ripping all this out and going to another vendor. You know, you don't want that kind of disruption. So I think I don't understand why I don't know. I think there's something else. It's this 3-year, probably your competition's using it to beat you up. And I know I see that. Look, I see that. No contracts month to month. And I'm thinking, well, first of all, from a business owner, entrepreneur perspective, I'm like, I don't know that that's so smart, you know, from their standpoint, going month to month. The second thing is, you know, that vendor now has the ability to change anything, to raise your prices, to do all those things. And yeah, you can cancel, but if you're like with us with Keep, like with the software we resell, if they raised our prices, we're screwed because we have all of it. I mean, we got a business built around that, right? So we got to have a long-term contract with them to make sure that I know over the next 3 years, if I deploy it to all my customers and I'm selling at this price point and I'm in a contract with my customer, I can't have them raising prices because it would kill me in an instant. And if I'm on month to month, that's like having, okay, well, I'm going to rent this office building month to month. That's nuts because it's just too risky. So again, the more I've thought about this, you know, when I first heard a lot about this 3-year thing, I don't know. I was like, it was curious, and I talked to people. But anyway, you know, I think that there's more to the story, and it's not the 3-year contract concept, because MSPs sell at 3-year contracts. Like a 3-year agreement's not an unusual thing. Yeah. I think people are they're hearing it and they're scared and they're afraid, but again, no one's, you know, if you sign up for a product, it's clear, you know, hey, if you want to buy 1 year, it's $1 million. And if you want month to month, it's 5 cents, or 3 years is 5 cents. You know what I mean? Like if they know that going in.
So I'll give you a great example. Yeah. So two things, I think, Rob, you bring a great point. So look, first off, I hope it doesn't sound like I as the CEO of the company, so I'm representing the company. I'm being defensive. There's things that we screw up on. Don't get me wrong. Like, you know, we clearly need to do a better job of articulating the why. I'll give you an example. We bought IT glue like 6+ years ago. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't realize we've owned it for 6+ years. I always get people that say, you messed up IT glue. How long have you been using it? For 2 years. And after you bought it, you screwed it up. I'm like, well, we've owned it for 6 years. So IT glue, when Chris Day started the company, he was offering month-to-month deals. That's how we built the company, or that's how we got his first like 200 customers, and we bought them, right? So we then started selling the product 1 year and 3 year contracts. And we raised, I think recently now, it's been 6.5 years ago. So people that are on month to month, I think there was like 400 or 500 people on it, maybe 600. I forget the exact number. I could dig it up for you, but there's a number of them that were and still are on month to month. And that month to month pricing is going to triple at some point in time. We've kept it down because, it's such a small percentage of the overall base. We haven't had to raise it, but that's what normal companies will do. They will substantially disincent month to month, because if you're a month to month vendor, your business is worth shit. I've been doing this for a long time. A lot of the companies out there that have no contracts or they're offering things, they're not sustainable businesses. They're just not. And that's not being a tough guy or a jerk or being mean. It's not. We're about to hit a pretty tough economic period. I think so. Again, I'm not an economist, but you can kind of see it coming. Just interest rates alone are moving up. So that's happening. And I think you've already seen it with Lion Guard announced, their company in the channel. I'm sure you know Lion Guard. They announced some layoffs, having trouble raising financing. The equity markets have almost dried up for mid-size growth equity profitable companies. Not to talk about, sub 20 million money, companies that are growing, but they're burning money still. There's no equity options for very, very little. So no venture firm, no private equity firm is going to give any equity to a company that has no backlog. There's not, so in terms of the reality, that's kind of what's happening. And our response to it is we have to get better at communicating things. I've taken that feedback and again, Robin and your audience, thank you, because you took the feedback from your audience and you're like, hey dude, you got to do better at this. And you're right on the mark. Our intention is to provide a far, far lower cost solution. That's integrated, that's complete, that's intelligent. So MSPs can make more money. Even if the MSP shrinks and loses 20% of their customers, which by the way never happens on a one-off basis, but in aggregate, never happens. We still want to make the MSP make more money using Kaseya, and we got to get on that. So we got some work to do on messaging, but the feedback's appreciated. And listen, there's always going to be the small group of people that hates Kaseya or hates any vendor, and that's unfortunate.
I know. Well, we see it on our queue. We have to monitor it because it's not just because it's it's if you want to see a fight break out, like have a bunch of MSPs talk about a vendor on a, hey, what do you guys think about this? There was just a post on ours about ConnectWise, and everyone's like, everybody hates ConnectWise, and it's like, again, I've been working with you, Kaseya, and I work with all the vendors in the channel. So I'm vendor agnostic, and I work with all the vendors in the channel, and we do whatever we can. So if you're a member of mine and you're watching this and you feel like you're being treated unfairly, reach out to me. And we just had an incident come up with Cisco, and I know Michelle at Cisco, and we reached out to her personally, and we got it resolved. And I've had that happen with IT Glue. I've had it happen with different companies, and we try not to, it's not our part to get involved, but we try to get involved. And I know that, we've always gotten good response. Nadir, like the issue we had with IT Glue, he jumped right on it and got it resolved. So I would also invite, if you're a member of mine, if you're not a member, buy something and be a customer for God's sake, right? But, but if you're a member of ours and you really are having trouble, as you can see, I've got a good relationship with Kaseya. And we'll do what we can to help this be resolved, because I have not gotten anyone over there said, sorry, screw them. I've never heard that from you or any of the team over there. And there are some times when there's legitimate complaints, and you just got to resolve it. Like everybody's a business owner. We know that no one's perfect and things get screwed up, and you do what's right. But I do think that there's a little bit of a mob mentality, that's there's a little bit too much vitriol out there, and I don't know. I question where it's coming from, but that's a that's a discussion for another day. What I want to ask you about, because I want to turn to something like more positive, because I'm curious. So DattoCon, you're still doing DattoCon, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's in September in DC. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get there if I can. Cool. I know I talked to Rob a little bit in the hallway at Connect, and I've spoken at DattoCon. It's been a couple years, so I'm going to try and get there myself. So cool. So DattoCon is definitely on. Maybe we can do the virtual
100. Unless DC shuts down for COVID or some shit like that, right? you know,
Bring
which
it to Nashville. Come on, bring it to Nashville. Well,
if we could spin it that quick, it'd be cool. I'm not a fan of DC. That's not my favorite town in the country, as I'm sure most of us, that's not their favorite town in the country because it's all politicians and they all suck. But
Yeah.
I don't care if Democrat, Republican, they all stink. But no, it's in DC.
And the traffic's bad.
yeah,
I know we have events there. It's not a great venue for events.
Tough.
But,
And I saw the agenda. Agenda looks good. You know, we're gonna be present. I'll be giving the keynote. Should be a lot of fun.
We're gonna be there. Cool. Okay. And then, so I know you talked about Cooper. We talked about the, you know, just the vision. So what would you, for this year, we got 6 months left of this year. What is on the, like, what's on the vision? What are two or three big things that, I mean, the lower prices, you already kind of hit on some of this, but is there anything else on the roadmap for this year?
There is. So a couple of things. First and foremost, we want to get Datto products integrated into IT Complete, which is not just the technical integration, it's also the commercial integration. And we want to deliver that seamless experience. That is like, you know, project numero uno. I'm talking external facing. Obviously, we have, you know, 2,400 employees to bring in, leaving all that stuff aside, right? Not that the employees aren't important, but this is a customer facing kind of interview. So that's number one. And that's a big lift. That's like number one, number two, number three, number four, number five. The second thing is so within that framework, we're really bullish on the networking gear from Datto, switches and the routers. And I think Austin McCord, the founder of Datto, had the vision of I call it the perimeter technology, the networking stuff. And I think he's right, because of all the networking vendors, they're all great. I mean, Cisco's a rock star. These companies are awesome. The MSP space is an afterthought for all of them. And it's not saying that we're a bad market, right? It's just, you know, if you're Cisco and you have inventory, who do you give it to? You give it to governments, then you give it to healthcare, then you give it to the big giant enterprises and the mid-size. Oh, and then let's give it to these MSPs. And that's just the way they're built, and they'll always be that way. And there's nothing wrong with it. So we think we can really take advantage of the fact that we have one market that we serve, and that's this call. You know, people like this around the world, and a lot of work to do there. So we have some work on the supply chain, the architecture of some of the models. We got to make it so there's always available inventory. That's a big piece. We're going to put a lot of money into it, so that should be super cool. Mm-hmm. I think the third piece that we're looking at is we call MSP community or MSP enablement offerings. And this is pretty cool, Robin. Like, I know you saw this at Connect, right? So I know this is a lot of interesting stuff. So we have a group, and what that group is it works on enabling MSPs to acquire new customers, to grow their current customers faster. And how can we help that? And we have a group called Powered Services, which is run by Dan Tomaszewski under Gary Pica. And you know, they have a whole interesting suite of solutions there for that. We're also coming to market with something called MSP Account Management Automation Software, which really helps facilitate deeper penetration of accounts for MSPs. That will be included at no charge in every Kaseya PSA. And that's something that's been in the works for a while. And it was targeted to come out at the end of September. We're now targeting it for the end of the calendar year, as we've had a couple of things change in the stuff that we're looking at. That's a really powerful solution. We found that most MSPs they don't have professional go-to-market organizations. How many 7-person, 12-person, 20-person companies have a professional sales and marketing team? Not a lot, right? It's a lot of overhead. So trying to not become that, but give the technology or the intelligence that automatically lets an MSP know of your 40 customers, which customers are appropriate to speak with about what service offerings that the MSP has in their catalog.
That's
and
great.
We have something very similar to that. We use it in our account management group to manage our MSPs. And we're taking that technology, we're making it a little simpler and putting it into the PSAs. That should be a monster.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we would love to. I mean, we've talked about how do we do that with the CRM and the marketing automation platform we do, but it's just not, like you talk about the commercial integration, you need that commercial integration to have that happen. Otherwise it just, it doesn't work so well. But I think that's huge. If you could build that into a PSA where it could say, when they're doing their QBRs, like what we teach them, the definition QBRs, you've got a roadmap. You sit down with the customer and say, hey, we got to talk to you about these 2 or 3 things, because this is really appropriate for you. And it gives that visibility. What I would love to see is if you could total it up and say, here's how much revenue and profit you're leaving on the table that's sitting in your customer base, right? because the marketer in me, that's exactly what we teach people, how to get more with fewer customers, how to get more revenue, more profits, with that. So that would be huge if you could do that. I'm jealous if you can get that.
Hey, look, I'd love to work with you on it. I mean, I know, well, we can talk offline about it, but but that's something that we're deep in the development stages on. That should be super neat. And again, not trying to monetize it because selfishly for us, look, we want to make money and lots of it. We make money with something like that. If a Kaseya MSP, if they sell more managed SOC and they buy more, they buy more of our products, that's how we make money. That's what we like. So
exactly right. That's why a lot of vendors hire me to do marketing, because they're trying to get their MSPs to sell more of their product, right? So 100%. Okay, cool. All right. I don't want to take any more of your time. I've already taken.
Hey, Robin, I was late, so it's up to you. I apologize. So my time is yours.
No, well, I would just say, is there any final thing, that you want to kind of communicate to the people? We are recording this. We've got several hundred people because we're streaming this on Facebook and via YouTube and so forth. And we'll post this, a recording of this. what else do you want to tell people now that this acquisition, what else, any final parting words?
Yeah, it's, the acquisition is complete now. So, there's no legal reason not to disclose anything. We're excited as hell, not just for the acquisition. You think about it, we're making such a bet on the MSP market because I think we got a bargain, but we spent $6 billion and change to buy Datto, and we'll be buying others. I think that the economy is in an interesting spot, and hopefully, and I hope to God that we don't go into something where a lot of people suffer. Economic downturns suck because they hurt a lot of people. But that being said, I think that our strategy and I said this on stage, we spend $1 billion a year on stuff. R&D, finance, sales. We do $1.5 billion. We'll do this year. We'll do $1.5 billion revenue, making about $500 million. So we spend $1 billion on stuff. It's a lot of money. If that $1 billion on stuff and projects and initiatives, we're trying to give a more integrated, less expensive, easier to use platform for MSPs. We're going to move it forward. We'll F up a lot, right? We'll make some mistakes. It's going to be moved forward. And I think that the next 3-4 years, it's going to be important. I think that you're going to see a lot of vendors going away. And we are one of the larger vendors now, and we're a vendor committed to the lowest cost solution, committed to the most integrated solution, and to MSPs making the most profit. I think that we're all singing. We all have the same incentives. So hopefully, Kaseya can earn the right to make everyone proud to be a Kaseya.
That's fantastic.
For
I love the entrepreneurial vision. We bring in people at boot camp, like a Robert Herjavec we're having who's coming in at the July producers, or we bring in a Kevin O'Leary or whoever it is that we're bringing in to speak. And so I just love big entrepreneurs with big vision. And I see that you being that kind of person. And, I've got to know you a little bit. I don't know you personally and all that, a little bit in the engagement we've had. And I do think that you're very sincere with your commitment and your goals to the community. And I think Datto, it's gonna be a better company. I know that you're wanting to embrace the culture they have there, the community that they have. You said that on stage, so maybe you can kind of lead it with that, because I know there is a vision to embrace the MSP community and do good for it and do better. And that's part of that acquisition, is bringing that culture from Datto into Kaseya and make it even better.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's funny. I'm doing a lot of internal meetings with Datto, talking to the employees and all that kind of stuff now. And we talk a lot. One of the key things is we don't want to change the Datto culture. The Datto culture that we don't want to change is they love MSPs. And I'm learning. I've learned. I had a meeting with their head of with one of the heads in product recently, and they have so many good ideas. It's cool. You learn, you get new ideas from different people. Right. That cultural. There's a lot of different aspects of Datto's culture. Some good, some bad. Like Kaseya, that is one that is absolutely good. We're looking for it. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. All right. So guys, again, I encourage you, reach out. I don't have time. I don't want to, Fred's been very generous. I'm just squeezing this in here for me. I asked him to do this. If you have any questions, if you want to address to him, you could email me. You can email me personally. My email is robin@technologymarketingtoolkit.com. Now the marketing team. So it's robin@themarketingteam.com. If you have any thoughts about this interview or questions about it, I'd love to hear it. I know we couldn't get to everyone's comments and questions and so forth. And I would just kind of love everybody's to hear your feedback. My inbox will blow up. It's okay. I have a flight. I'm going down to the beach. I'll sit and answer all your emails on my flight. And it'll be cool because I see this as a very interesting, we're watching kind of, for me, it's like watching history evolve and, I mean, again, I go back to 2015, there was a time when I thought, man, this MSP market is dying. I literally for my business was a little nervous saying, man, with the cloud being what it is. And I think, Microsoft had plans to sell a device that was fully complete with all the software and support and everything. I thought, man, the MSP world's going away. And I remember actually talking to you and you're like, whoever's saying that is an idiot. And I'm like, well, I was glad to hear it, and you're right, because the MSP market is growing. Demand is greater than ever. It's huge opportunity for MSPs, but we are going into a tough economic time. So it is time to, to get down to business and be serious. And I just love watching this evolve and the history that I think is in the making here. So, So anyway, Fred, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time again, guys. If you want to email me direct, that's fine. Love to hear your comments on this. And appreciate you, Fred. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, and Robin, you can reach out, and I'm actually seeing some of the chats that go. Can I answer one of them that came up?
Sure, okay? Absolutely.
The guy's name is Greg. I don't see his last name. GR says, have him address the Zoom meeting and sorry, I'm not like super good at this Zoom meeting and Slack issues he had internally in firing the guy for booing him this week. Let me address that. All that. Yeah, I'll tell you, so we're doing internal calls at Datto, and we had a conversation. It wasn't me on the call. So Greg, your information's wrong, but our chief operating officer did a call with one of the departments, and they were talking about changing from Slack to Teams. Datto uses Slack for some internal communications, and Kaseya uses Teams for all of it. Financially and operationally, you need to standardize on one communication protocol. I think we'd all recognize that. So we're standardizing on Teams. So I don't know if that's an issue, Greg, but that was what was done. And there was a very disrespectful individual. I wasn't on the call, but I got wind of it afterwards, who was booing and disrupting the call and booing Joe and our COO and expressing things that he's being kind of an asshole, to be blunt, pardon my language. Mm-hmm. So we fired him. And I don't think that's anything bad whatsoever. I don't think that's changing the culture of Datto. If any of your employees was disrespectful on a 500-person call and booing you and berating you when they're supposed to be on mute, learning new information when 499 other people are hearing for the first time from an executive of the company who acquired them, those people are nervous. They want to know the facts. They want to understand what's happening. It's over communicating. It's the morally and ethical right thing to do when you buy a company, because people get nervous. So we fired that person. And I think that was the absolute right decision. And I back it 100%. So when this hits social media and people write about it, and they write about it anonymously, because most people who post on social media, they post anonymously. That's what happened. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of people who wrote me emails saying, you're already changing Datto and making it worse. That's kind of the facts. And just to put it out there, Robin, sorry for bringing that up, but I had a couple of issues hit my email on this, and I thought it might be a good opportunity to get the truth out there as to what went down.
Yeah, Greg said, love that response. Yeah, I mean, there are some questions. I was kind of like watching this, but I'm paying attention to. So that's why I gave my email. If you guys have any issues or questions, please bring them to me. Get off social media, for God's sake. the vitriol and the nastiness. And look, if you're watching this and you're an entrepreneur, and I said this at boot camp to everyone, I said, you are spending way too much time pissing and moaning over something you have no control over on social media. And like, pay attention. Like, if it's important to you, then bring it up to the vendor, bring it up to your account executive, your manager, whoever at Kaseya, bring it up in those. But, just spending hours of time on social media, posting nasty comments, I it makes me crazy. I mean, what, I see that for low paid people who've got nothing better to do, but entrepreneurs, like, stop it already. It's crazy. These drive-by comments, and it's not just one. I mean, it's like, Fred, I wrote about this. I don't even know I did this, but like, just out of curiosity, and I didn't do a lot of it. I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but I actually went on and I saw some of the comments and I counted the people that were making negative comments. And what I found is that it was like a handful of people, but they post a lot and they post in different places. And, and I was thinking, it's like anything else. There's naysayers. You guys have employees. You guys have bad customers. You guys see all that. And they're noisy and they're out there and they're just spreading negativity. And to me, it's just, when you're running a business, you get what you focus on. And if you're distracted by this kind of stuff and you're on social media until late hours of the night, having arguments about political issues or anything else, it's distracting you from really being focused on what's good and focusing on your company, focusing on how to make things better for your customers. And again, I understand, like, some of you have very legitimate complaints. I'm not dismissing that. I have a different relationship with you, Fred. You're a customer of mine. So of course I have a different relationship with your team than the MSPs do. And that's a fair statement. So I'm not dismissing it, but it saddens me, I think, because, I know this industry, but I don't know in other industries if this stuff's kind of going on. I just hate that about this community. I say this community, I mean, just about the IT, like, there's like, you go on Reddit, I won't even go on Reddit, it's amazing, the nastiness and disrespect and unprofessionalism that you see out there. Guys, just, like they tell my kids at school, play above the line. It's not to say that you're wrong for feeling the way you are, but just, just be a better person. I mean, just like, I don't know, it just seems it saddens me. It really does to see it. So anyway, all right. So Fred, again, great. Anything else you want to address? I don't know if you're looking.
No, I see it. And everyone who's on the call who writing comments, like, I really appreciate it. This is going to make me sound like a total snob. I usually have someone, like, we'll have a separate computer next to me with the comments. So I'm on a little Surface Pro right now, and I ran in here from the hospital with my mom, so I'm like a little discombobulated. So apologize, I can't get to them all. All I know is, Robin, I'm more than happy to do this anytime you want. And if they want to have a conversation, like with me, or listen, I'll talk to everybody. It might take a couple of weeks to get to everybody, but Robin, I've said this before, Robin, anybody you send to me, I don't care if they hate us, they love us, whatever they want, I'd love to talk to them, because the worst case, we'll learn something, and the only way you get better is by getting punched in the nose. And if we got to get punched in the nose a bunch to get better, so be it.
Yeah. Very good. I hear you 100%. All right. Awesome. So John saying, great call. Steve, thank you, Robin and Fred. Like you said, there's like some are just like LI Tech. Thank you so much for your time. Great webinar. 100%. So sounds good. And Greg, I think loves that answer and appreciates.
There's one more, Robin, if I could address. It's from Cassetto. Cool. Love it. It says, if specific vendors get excluded by Kaseya's marketing department, it'll destroy the very soul of what DattoCon is. You'll easily have half the amount of MSPs. Can Fred comment who's next? Like, who they are interested in, not names. Okay. So first off, if you're hearing it from me, there will be vendors excluded from DattoCon or from Connect IT, which is there's two Datto, the Kaseya version of DattoCon. And those are just direct head-to-head competitors, pretty much ConnectWise. ConnectWise and Enable are probably the only two that we won't allow. But even that, we may allow, we're still talking about it. Both DattoCon and Kaseya have done that forever, so we're thinking about doing it. So we'll see. Those are the only ones. I know a couple of vendors have expressed they weren't happy with where their booths were placed at Connect or how things went. I mean, I can assure you there's no intent there. At least there's no intent top down. Maybe they pissed off the booth salesperson or something. I don't know, but that's not the case. In terms of who we're buying next. We like security a lot. We think that there's a lot to be gained in fintech. We think MSPs are going to start to be able to monetize a lot of the financial transactions from their customers. There's a huge opportunity there. So those are some areas we're looking at. We're trying to stay whatever your customers, so MSP customers, your downstream customers, whatever you want to call it, whatever technology-based services third parties provide to them, we believe you as the MSP should and will be providing all of them by the end of the decade. And we want to make sure IT Complete expands to cover that, so that you can fully monetize your customer spend on anything technology, digital related. And that's where we're going. So.
Okay.
Sorry, Robin, I saw that question. I want to kind of jump on that as well.
Okay, cool. Well, again, guys, robin@themarketingteam.com. Send me your thoughts, send me whatever. We have recorded it. I'll post this up again for you guys to take a look at later and share it out with everybody. And I got an event I got to run to get back to. And Fred, I know you got a lot of things.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Yeah, so no, this is great. Again, thank you so much. There's so much to learn. I just love hearing you talk, because there's so much just from if you step back from this just for a minute as an entrepreneur and you kind of look at the strategy and what you're doing, there's a lot to learn here. And that's what I love about these conversations. So anyway, appreciate you. Thanks everybody for being here. And with that, we'll wrap it up.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Robin. Really appreciate it.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.